Hello, my name is Jeannie Ford. I'm a Christian educator and I work at Second Presbyterian Church here in Little Rock. In the Christian faith, our holy scriptures, our holy writings, we call our Bible, and it contains two parts. The Hebrew scriptures, which basically are the same writings and the same scriptures that are part of the Jewish faith, and in addition to that, we have our Christian scriptures. The Hebrew scriptures were the part of God's story before Jesus was born, and the Christian scriptures, or what we call the New Testament, are the stories and the teachings that happened after Jesus, the story of Jesus' birth and the stories that happened after Jesus was born. I want to share with you a story today that bridges the Hebrew scriptures and the Christian scriptures. In the Hebrew scriptures, we learn a lot about how God wants us to live and the commandments and the laws that God has given us to live by. And in the New Testament, we focus on Jesus and Jesus' teachings and how Jesus helps us to understand God's love and how God wants us to live. So listen carefully to this brief story that I'm going to share with you today. One day, Jesus was teaching a crowd who had gathered about God's love and about what it meant to love other people, and he wanted to help them remember some special things about how to share God's love, when a man in the crowd who had studied law all of his life and knew a lot about the laws from the Hebrew writings raised his hand, and he wanted to ask Jesus a question. And he looked at Jesus and he said, "Tell me, which of the commandments, all of the commandments that God has given us, which one do you think is the most important for us to remember?" Jesus took a minute and he stopped to think, but he knew in his heart which one was the best, which one he thought was the most important, because he had grown up in a Jewish family and there was a particular commandment he had said every day of his life. And he looked at the man and he said, "I'll tell you, the most important commandment, I think, is to love your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Love God with your eyes and your ears and your hands and your heart and all of yourself." Now, Jesus remembered that perhaps he needed to add a little more, because the man who knew the Jewish law and the people listening in the crowd may be wondering, how is it that we're supposed to love the Lord our God with all our heart? So Jesus added a second commandment. The second commandment, which is kind of like it, is this: love your neighbor as yourself. So in that short Bible story that we heard from the book of Matthew in the Christian Bible, we learned that Jesus told us we should love the Lord our God with all of our heart and our strength and our soul and our minds, and that we should love our neighbors as ourselves. And just to think about what that means, it means we should take care of other people the same way we take care of ourselves. So I want to tell you a little story about a friend of mine who lives in Dallas that is an example of how we take care of our neighbors or take care of others the way we want to be taken care of ourselves. My friend lives in Dallas, and this was just a few weeks ago, so it was in the middle of this pandemic and all the hard things that are happening in our world, and she and her daughter were headed out one evening to go pick up their dinner from a restaurant and take it back home, and she saw a man standing on the corner with 4 children, starting, I think the youngest one was 2 and the oldest one was 9, and his wife, and they appeared to be living in their minivan. And he had a sign that said, "I've lost my job because of the pandemic, please help." Well, living in Dallas, my friend had been told over and over again that it could be dangerous to stop and help people that were asking for help on the side of the road. So she was a little bit torn, but she said, "My goodness, this is a horrible situation and I want to do something to help." So she went around the block to her bank, and because she didn't have any cash with her, she went around the block, got some money, and she was bringing it back to give to the man and his family, and her heart just sank as she turned the corner because there was a police car parked there and the blue lights were going, and she thought, "Oh my goodness, he's going to get arrested for loitering or hanging out on a street corner." But when she got out of her car, she saw that the policeman was taking blankets out of his trunk and making sure that the children had blankets to sleep with. And then while they were standing there talking and she was offering him some money and some snacks, another couple came up, probably a young couple in their early 40s, and they had assessed the situation and they said, "You know what? We have some apartments that we rent, and one of them is vacant right now. We would love for you to come and stay in that apartment until you can get back on your feet, and you can help us you can earn your rent by helping us around the apartments and doing some odd jobs and some chores. And she said the man just started crying and said, I am so thankful. You all have been so wonderful. And the young man with the apartment said, not at all. We feel so blessed to have what we have. You just pay it forward and do something nice for somebody when you can. And I just think this is a beautiful example of taking care of other people and reaching out to people we don't even know. Neighbors are people, not always people that live next door to us, or people that are in our family, or people that we're close to. You're going to find in your spy journal several activities that will help you think about who are our neighbors and what it means to show God's love by loving others and taking care of others. One last thing I want to leave you with as you get ready to look in your spy journal and find these fun activities to help you think about being a good neighbor is a way to remember this Bible verse with some hand motions. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with your mind, and with all your strength. And the second commandment is to love your neighbor, all these people that you know or don't know, love your neighbor as yourself. And we really hope that you'll make a video of yourself saying the Bible verse with the hand motions and post it on our Interfaith Friendship Camp Facebook page. This is your mission.